Welcome back to the Movie Wheel Marathon. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Mac.
And we're on Spider-Man Homecoming for our Spider-Man marathon. We're technically almost done. This one really felt like it went by. I know I said that recently, but that this has felt very fast. We're on Spider-Man Homecoming, directed by John Watts, released July 7th, 2017. God damn, this movie's almost 10 years old.
Almost 10 years
That
old.
doesn't
This is
feel
just
right.
getting me
That
too.
doesn't feel right. Oh, yeah, that's true. That makes sense. That makes
I
sense.
mean, it's high school, right? Year
Yeah,
after
yeah,
high.
no, you're right. Starring, of course, Tom Holland and Zendaya, Michael Keaton, Marissa Tomei, Robert Downey Jr., Donald Glover's in there, Jacob
Mhm.
Batalon. We got Jon Favreau and a bunch of other people are in this, but we'll kind of keep it there. Otherwise, I could just keep going and going and going. Um, so yeah, Spider-Man: Homecoming. We're here. We did it. We're in the MCU. We're interacting with other superheroes. We might reference some stuff in Civil War, but we're
It's
not.
good
We're
to
not
be
watching.
here.
Yes, it
It's
is.
good to be
It's
here.
a not subtle. It is a homecoming, and it works. The title works, and they made it relevant to the school. I really dig all that. Um, but yeah, Spider-Man: Homecoming. What are your thoughts? How do we want to approach this one?
Initial thoughts?
Yeah, what are your initial thoughts?
I it's it's such a relief to
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's honestly kind of exciting to watch a film like this because putting it together, they like clearly cared about it
Mm-hmm.
and they knew what they were doing. Every minute of the scene is every scene is used to kind of its fullest potential. Um, the jokes land all the time. The consistency on the characters is wonderful. The setup is so good. Like I personally love. I think it's almost always the right choice to start your story with the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it's not always right to do that, but I have yet to see a story that is not strengthened by that choice, right? Maybe the story itself isn't great, but when we start with the villain, because the nature of villains is that they want something, right? They tend to be the characters that are going after something because they want it, which means they are the more active of the two. Even though
Mm-hmm.
the hero might be a little bit flashier, the hero is a preventative measure against the villain most of the time. So when we start with the villain, we get a sort of grounded sense of who they are and what kind of problem they're going to cause and what their motivation is. And I think with this one in particular, they balance it really well, where they do make him like, Toombs is fully a bad guy. He
Mm-hmm.
is willing to kill a teenage kid to get his way,
Mm-hmm.
right? But he's also doing it for his family, and he has a sort of like bizarre sense of honor where like those who are loyal to him or those who he owes something to, he will like respect those relationships,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like, you get all of that in the first scene with him,
Mm-hmm.
where he hits a guy because he's angry, but he's angry because he's not going to have a way to protect his employees and his family. He feels like he's being gypped, even though it becomes clear that he and his company's hands are not the right place for these
Mm-hmm.
dangerous alien
Mm-hmm.
artifacts, right? Like it's all wrapped into one, including the fact that he has a kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? He
Who
has a kid,
has a bright
but he seems
future,
to
the
matter.
Tinkerer says, and that's
Mhm.
all Liz
Um,
talks about is her future. Like they set it up. They set it up pretty well.
yeah, yeah, and but they managed to like make it so abstract that you think it's just a part of his background. It's just there so the audience relates to him and connects with him emotionally. And then it turns out, no, that was an essential piece of foreshadowing that you needed to be aware
Mm-hmm.
of. So
Mm-hmm.
it's quite good, I
Mm-hmm.
think. All of the writing in this, all every moment in this is wrapped around itself in a way that carries the strength of the film.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nice.
It
It's
is.
nice to
It
have a
is.
movie I can just really enjoy
Uh-huh.
and maybe have a couple of issues with, but largely
Yeah.
it's just a great film.
Yes. I will repeatedly mention it is bizarre how much you hate the previous Spider-Man movies. However, I also feel it's not wrong to want the fifth, sixth live action Spider-Man movie to continue to build and improve upon the ones that like it's not wrong to expect and want these to be the best Spider-Man movies. And I
Sure.
think in many ways it is. Like I
Mhm.
this is one of those movies just off the top of my head superhero wise. I've done so much defending because there's this weird purist mentality
I
of
don't
like
like it.
well there's lots of people that don't like it because it's not Toby, it's not Andrew, and people just attach to them, which
That's dumb.
it is dumb.
I've automatically written them off.
That's
If it's
dumb.
not the actor you like and therefore you hate the
Yes.
film, you are not a critic.
There
Moving on.
yes. There are also I think there's some perspective things that people don't fully engage with in that they consider the fact that he's not really Spider-Man yet as an issue instead of seeing this as we're watching Spider-Man develop over a trilogy instead of a montage,
Right.
which I like.
Mhm.
I actually like that a
Yeah.
lot. The Andrew of the Escape Pod podcast. This is one of his least favorite movies, superhero wise. If the little let me I'll explain what I know of his point because I haven't watched all of the episode.
Mhm.
He makes the point that between the beginning and the end, nothing happens because the status quo stays about the same. But I argue that's not true. Peter's mentality
Yeah.
and what he wants
Yeah.
fully changes. Like he goes from
Mhm.
wanting nothing more than to be an Avenger and drop high school to realizing that this is not the time for that. He's not
Taking his
there
time.
yet. And I
Mhm.
appreciate that. Just him getting the suit at the end somehow undoing the message. I don't think that's true. I don't buy into
No,
that.
no, I don't think so at all. That's Tony's acknowledgement that this is where you wanted to be. You've earned this, like the right
Hmm.
to be here. Here, have the
Yeah.
tool that you have been
There's
relying on.
yes, and there's I think if we're gonna talk about that just for a second, because we're a little all over the place already, but for a second
True,
to talk
true.
about that, there is definitely some crossed, uh, like this weird kind of hodgepodge of everyone's right and everyone's wrong in ways that both matter because Peter is right to be pursuing these bad guys. However,
Hmm.
he is a child and
Hmm.
maybe we should have put more effort into notifying people who could do something instead of pursuing it ourselves. Slash, Tony is wrong to assume that this kid is just gonna listen to him.
Yeah,
Peter fucks up.
as a flawed mentor is actually one of the greatest
Oh
parts
yes,
of
for
this film.
sure. I think
Think you
the
understand this film if you think Tony like if you think Tony's a total flop, you don't get this film. If
right
you think Tony is 100% right and Peter needed to listen to him, you don't get this film.
exactly.
Doing what he thinks he needs to do, but he's not good at this. He's not
Hmm.
naturally good at this. He listens to Peter in the sense that he reads the updates, he keeps
Hmm.
track of what the kid is up to, right? But he doesn't make the kid feel heard
Hmm.
at all.
Yeah.
Peter is constantly saying, "Hey, I've done this thing. I've done this thing. I'm being a hero." And Tony's like, "You've overstepped this rule," or, "You almost got yourself killed," or, he's constantly telling him all the wrong things. And he doesn't even tell the kid that, like, the FBI is on the case,
Hmm.
right? There's a sort of like emptiness where Tony should be communicating with Peter that he's just assuming that Peter's just gonna like be an
Hmm.
employee and do as he says, essentially. And Peter's
Hmm.
a teenage hero who is going to get involved
Yeah.
even if you tell him that something else is happening.
Hmm.
So like there's a failure of
Communication.
mentor communication that's happening with Tony that, again, his intentions are all in the right place. And Peter's are also pretty much in the right place.
Hmm.
Peter's just got too much ambition and Tony is kind of ignoring him a little bit.
Yeah.
So, or at least he's making Peter feel ignored.
Hmm.
So that's what drives sort of like their interactions in
Yeah.
this film.
I
And I think that works really
yeah.
well because it allows for Peter to sort of decide for himself where he wants to
Hmm.
be. And it makes Tony, well, it makes Tony involved in Spider-Man's history. It prevents Tony from being sort of like the person who makes Spider-Man Spider-Man. I think
Hmm.
I think Iron Man has to fail a little bit at mentoring Spider-Man in order for Spider-Man to be Spider-Man without
Hmm.
feeling like he's just Iron
For
Man
sure.
squared suit,
Yeah.
right?
I also
I really like that choice. That was something I
yeah.
was appreciating on this watch through, so I
Me
wanted
too.
to say that.
No, you're good. You're right, and I agree. I honestly I like this kind of attempt at making Spider-Man an annoying child because
Mhm.
he should be in some ways. He shouldn't have all the
Mhm.
answers yet. I like. There's so much about the boat sequence, and we can get into the action side of it later that I like because Tony showing up in the suit in a fantastic moment where a guy
Mhm.
who could split him in half with his bare hands is scared that he's there because of like the dynamic they already have of like the kind of parental mentor figure and all that and the shockingness of it is scared of him. But that, and then him revealing he called the FBI, it doesn't come out of nowhere. Both Happy and Tony reference in little quick dialogue moments that they listen to everything that Peter sends and says. Happy references the cute
Mhm.
little notes he leaves, and Tony references
The
that.
churro.
Yeah, he references the churro, and Tony references that Happy told me you quit band. So like they're keeping tabs, but Peter's not picking up on that, which is fine. He's a kid,
Mhm.
so there is an element of, and I think to an extent with Tony, it's fair to assume at first these are not Avengers level threats. I think it's debatable as to
Mhm.
whether or not the FBI was going to succeed or not, depending on if Toomes could get to the suit or not in time. I think it's a good
Right.
conversation, but I also think
Mhm.
Peter is in over his head because he's dealing with stuff that's way out of his control, and he is actively causing problems. That's the thing that I
Mhm.
like that some people critique as well. Is like he is actively causing issues, and he is also trying to amend it and fix it. But some people think he doesn't face enough consequences for it. I don't really feel like, because people consider him losing the suit and getting it back like there's no consequences, and I'm like, he got the girl and immediately lost her. He missed out on the
Mhm.
decathlon, national champions. He put his friends
Mhm.
in danger. He missed the dance.
Mhm.
He's in detention forever. Like, and he's
Mhm.
in deep water with his aunt. Like, and he does mess up with his mentor. Like, there are lots of, the consequences don't have to be that he dies or that the world
Right.
ends yet. Okay, these are 15-year-old and high school consequences, and I'm okay with the worst of the consequences so far for him being this deli kind of blew up because we maybe didn't approach this as well as we could. We also didn't know what the weapons were yet. Slash,
Mhm.
I'm ruining all of my personal relationships. Like, I'm okay
Mhm.
with that. I think that's actually
Mhm.
great. That's a
Well,
great way to
and
approach
there's
this.
you gotta maybe it's just because you gotta get in the perspective of a teenage brain here a little bit, right?
Ew.
I know, but teenagers would rather lose like a hand than be embarrassed in
Mm-hmm.
front of people they care about, right? And Peter's life is being embarrassed in front of people he cares about, particularly when he messes up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
like that scene where Tony is scolding him right after the boat, and he says, I was wrong about you. You don't deserve this. And he sends him home with clothes from a dumpster, presumably. Like, that's big time. That's the kid losing what he thought his future was going to be. That's
Mm-hmm.
him hearing from his pseudo father figure slash childhood hero that he's not good enough to be what he wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's him walking home in someone else's disgusting disposed of clothes because he doesn't have the right to wear his own icon super suit anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's him going home to his aunt and telling her through the lie he's constructed about being
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man
Mm-hmm.
that he doesn't get to be Spider-Man anymore because he lost the Stark internship. The Stark
Mm-hmm.
internship was what he was giving everything up for to begin with, so he's
Mm-hmm.
already kind of torched his life a little bit. Like I would argue Peter hits teenage rock bottom here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like academic teenager rock bottom. He thought he had his life planned out, makes a mistake, and it blows up in his face. Maybe you're not thinking that's consequence enough, but again, how recently have you been a teenager where getting into college was all that
Right.
mattered for you,
Yeah.
right?
Very
Like
true.
this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And there's so much I want to hop on there, but I do think we should probably go back to the beginning just for a second.
Yeah, okay.
It's no one's fault. If anything, it's both our faults. But 15 minutes in, we should talk about the beginning a little bit. I like the video opening from Peter's
Mhm.
perspective. It's kind of this nod to the liking photography, maybe that we like making videos instead of taking pictures. I kind of dig that. I
Mhm.
swear the thing that they pass on the way is the Stark Expo because of the giant globe. And I love the idea that he got bit at the Stark Expo. Not in Iron Man 2 when he's a child, but like that's where the field trip was, all the science shit.
Sure.
And that's like a little nod to maybe that's where it happened. I have not confirmed that. I just like to think that. But
Yeah, they've
watching,
not talked about that at all.
yeah, watching aspects of Civil War from his perspective, so much fun. I dig all of it.
That's
It's
really
great
good.
fun.
It's a great recap too, in
Yes.
case the people hadn't like been caught up on that.
Indeed. Seeing where he gets the suit, love that. Great fun.
Hmm.
Um, and then
Hmm.
the little moment with Tony and the
I
car.
do
Great.
think it.
Yes.
Oh, it's that's a great moment. Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to step on your toes
No, you're good.
there.
You're good.
I do think it's maybe a smidge long, just because we already got a fairly long intro scene with Toombs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe having like a secondary intro like montage, like
Mm-hmm.
trimming it up a little bit might have been good, but none of it feels wasted. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's like a mistake. It just means that you have to wait almost like 30 minutes for the story to really get started.
Yeah. It's probably more like 15, but I see what you mean.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I like this kind of thing where this is back in the era where events of a movie are not limited to one movie. So
Hmm.
the quote unquote main suit actually serves the purpose of the Iron Spider suit in the comic book Civil War,
Right.
which is Spidey has his own homemade fabric suit, and Tony, when he's on his team, gives him the new advanced techie suit, and we get that. We get this idea. We get to explore that. It just looks more like the comic book one. I want to talk about that more later because that got a lot of shit. The homecoming suit. I want to talk about that. But so we get home,
That's
and there's wonderful little details of Happy struggling to pick up the giant robotic suit, and Peter just jogs inside with it. There's lots of little details like that, which I do love and appreciate.
yeah. This film is overly detailed. Like,
Yes.
and I don't think that's a negative thing. It's just like every little
Yep.
thing matters to the point where I saw a girl with long white hair in Peter's school, and I went, "Are they setting up Black Cat? Like, what's happening?"
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
because I mean, even in the bank heist scene, the
Yep.
poster behind him is about
Uh-huh.
identity
Yep.
fraud
Well,
or theft.
there's also when he gets gravity lifted up the first time, he sticks to the floor, it rips the
Mhm.
tile off. Then the second time, he grabs the
Huh?
floor instead of any tile, so he could stay. Like it's
Yeah.
and then when they go to Larb, when they get what is it, Thai food? There's a
Mhm.
church next to them, and it's a church worshiping Asgardians because Asgardians have become back into the public eye. Like
That's amazing.
this world is lived in. It is a comic book
Yeah.
world, like,
I
and I
think
love it.
the Avengers movies do a pretty good job, and a lot of the Captain America movies do a pretty good job of incorporating previous MCU elements
Mm-hmm.
into like the world they're working in. But this film, I think, is untouched in terms of just truly living in the world that Avengers 2012 created, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because like the main villain is a vulture that picks up after the battles
I
of
love that. I
superheroes.
love that so
Amazing.
much.
What a way to make that name actually
Oh,
like make sense rather than just being vaguely scary.
finish your
Like,
point because I want to talk about that right now
yeah.
so badly.
Um, and we get like you were saying, Asgardian churches. People are constantly referencing different heroes. We have like, Spider-Man himself is connected to sort of the inside of the heroes. People talk about Tony and Iron Man in a way that they would as like citizens in New York dealing with super rich guys who
Mm-hmm.
fly around in iron suits. Some of
We
them
have
love them, some of them hate it,
Cap
right? Like,
educational videos with the
yes.
the 2012 Cap suit, and the principal of the school is a descendant of one of the Howling Commandos, which is why they probably continue to play the Captain America videos, even though he's a quote unquote war criminal now. Great details. Mwah, 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 mwah. The
It's
scientist mural
constant.
in the background has Howard Stark and Hank Pym on it. Bruce Banner's pictures in the chemistry lab or the math lab, whatever that was. Like, yes, everywhere.
Hmm.
Everywhere. It's all over. And it's
And like even things
fantastic.
that are like the details again everywhere. There are tiny little Star Wars figures in Peter's
Mm-hmm.
room that are
Mm-hmm.
not Lego things, but they're just confirming that he likes,
He's a movie nerd.
Star Wars. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I love it when movies have this level of detail
Yep.
because that's what I think that's when a movie is good, right? You can kind of tie together a movie where people are doing different things, but when you create a movie that has so many details that it's clear that every choice was intentional and was intentionally designed to work with the rest of the film,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it's good. Like Peter sounding kind of like a whiny teenage kid is because
Mm-hmm.
you need to remember that he is a whiny teenage kid, especially considering the last two that we got, the only cinematic
They were
Spideys that we've had
really
so
just
far
adults.
are high schools.
Yeah.
Like they're seniors in high school. So like there's a lot of really intentional smart choices, so many so that we could probably just list them until we
Yep.
ran out of time
Oh, definitely.
for this video, so we're not going to do
Yeah.
that, but they're just everywhere and I love them.
Yep. I totally agree. So briefly, I think real quick on Vulture. Yes, my exposure to Vulture is by when I saw this movie the first time was very limited. It was mostly just the cartoons. But if I had to
Mhm.
pick my least favorite, what I consider the lamest Spider-Man villain, it would have been Vulture. They nailed it with this movie. I know it's very inaccurate from what I know of the cartoons. I don't
Right.
care at all. It is so
I
much
don't
better.
care.
I love
Yeah.
the motivation. I love his mentality for the most part. He's a little unhinged. I love the concept of him actually being a vulture and
Sure.
picking the scraps of the battle. All of that is fucking brilliant and Easter eggs galore in the most believable way
Mhm.
possible. And I love,
Mhm.
I put a pin in that just for a second, but I also love the look because I hated Vulture's look. It's so dumb. He's got those weird fluffy white feathers around his bald ass
Yeah, the
head,
weird
but
collar.
they managed to make it look amazing with an aviator jacket. You motherfuckers, you got me so good with that. Oh, I love it. And the
Mhm.
wings look super
Mhm.
cool. I really dig them. At first, or at least there was at one point there was a concept it was going to be built off of the suit that Falcon leaves
Mhm.
behind in Winter Soldier. I'm okay that they didn't do that. I think it was cool that they kind of
Yeah.
developed their own thing. Um,
Mhm.
but then I
I like
really
that it looked complete, but it also looked a
yes,
little cobbled together, right? Like it was
yes,
made up of pieces.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's very cool.
Yes. And then the second one is great. I love how big it is. I love when it's draped over that billboard and he's
Mhm.
sitting there all perched and stuff, looking super cool and creepy.
The like sort of like razor feather
Yes.
wings that he uses to claw at
It's yeah,
things.
it's like different from every other
So good.
winged guy we've seen, you know? Like it's so good.
Mhm.
And he looks super cool when he's using it, and I love like the shot during the fairy fight where he like brings them up in front of like the camera and he snips them all together to break the webs.
Yeah.
So great.
Composition is another level of detail this film
Yes.
gives us. All sorts of beautiful
Yes.
shots. And like even
Yes.
thinking of that end scene again, the big suit up on the billboard, right?
Mhm.
And then they flip it so the camera can watch Spidey in the distance run
Yes.
up to him, right?
Yes.
There are
Uh-huh.
so many smart camera choices
Mhm.
in this one too.
Yep.
And that can be really important, especially when your character like swings around in a space a lot. You got to
Mhm.
figure out how to make that visually work for an audience. And
Yep.
you don't even think about it in this film. It's that good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm
continuing.
just gonna finish my vulture point, and then I want to talk about that actually, the swinging around, because people have complained about that. But I love that Vulture's downfall is when he decides to hunt instead of
Mm,
scavenge. That is
I hadn't thought about
so.
that thematically.
Oh my god, it's so brilliantly perfect. It's the
That's
scavenger's
amazing.
downfall is when he decides to hunt because he's no longer picking up the scraps. He goes for the prey. They plan a
Mhm.
hunt, and that like, granted, that's not why he fails, but it just poetically, thematically, it
Oh,
works.
sure.
That it's yeah, it's
Hmm.
ironic that when he finally decides to go for the kill is when he fails. So great. Now, the swinging around. Yes, I love that we actually finally get the funny moment of what does Spider-Man do when there are no buildings around to swing from, and he just shoots the web out into the golf course. That is perfect, perfectly funny.
Hmm.
Um, People have complained that this doesn't have a great big dramatic swinging through the city sequence. I don't. I
Does it need one?
I understand that mentality for a second. Slash, it doesn't need one. Slash, I like that we're building up to it. Slash, I think the fight sequences we get and where we are all great because they're different from what we've had in the previous 5 Spider-Man movies. I think fun little action sequence in a residential neighborhood is cool because it's different. Haven't seen that before. dealing with one giant tall thing instead of multiples and the Washington Monument, I think is great. People have complained, why didn't he go in through the bottom? He is still a child. Like
So I didn't think about this. I don't know if the stairs would have been faster.
I don't either. Actually, I didn't even think about that until people like pointed out and complained about it. I thought it was fine the way it worked.
Yeah.
That's a different environment for having a Spider-Man fight. I like that every fight sequence with Vulture is like in motion. We kind of had that with Rhino in the first opening bit of Amazing Spider-Man 2, but really not. 'Cause we're not fighting and we're just letting some people die in the streets while catching other people. But we have our brief little moment with the van. We have a slightly briefer moment with the truck. Then we have our moment on the boat, and the boat sequence is great. We're swinging around, we're doing stuff, we're using our web tricks, and we're fighting up in the air and swinging over the water. And then our final fight is up in the air on the airplane. Spectacular, visually great. The giant metal feathers, the sparks, the blipping and glitching of the retro reflection panels. All of it's
Yeah.
fantastic. All of it's different. All of it's fresh. Love it. A+ for the fight sequences, I personally think.
Hmm.
Let me see if I need to cap that off anywhere real quick. Related to that, which I do think we'll have to talk about in a second, Spider-Man's tech. But if you have something you want to talk about before that, we will have to talk about that.
That's kind of where I was going next anyway, just with like kind of what we're talking about. I do feel like I'm kind of like split on how much tech is put in the Spider-Man suit. On one hand, Spider-Man having all of that feels a little weird, right? Like he's got an AI, he's got a projector screen, he's like there's so much. On the other hand, of course Tony did that.
Yeah.
Of course Tony did that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and then the fact that he would safeguard it, and the fact that Peter would be dumb enough to like unlock the safeguards and do no practice with it. And then the scene we get where both of them, like the Shocker or whatever, and Spidey are both having tech problems at the same time, which is
Mm-hmm.
why the bad guys don't notice him, is hilarious.
Yeah, that's really good.
So at the end of the day, I don't like I really didn't like it when it first happened when I was first watching the film. As it's kind of like aged on me, I think this is a perfect MCU choice.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't change it. I don't know if I would have gotten there myself if I were in charge of writing, but I do like where it goes
Mm-hmm.
in this version of the story. So I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I'm in a very similar boat. I There are some things I think that aren't fully considered that make like add I think some fervor to the anger because most of the tech that Spidey has in this movie is tech that Spidey does eventually have, but Peter develops it, and a lot of people are pissed about
Right.
that. I'm mixed on that for the big reason being it looks like at first glance that everything that makes Spider-Man Spider-Man is something that Tony Stark comes up with. But that's not true. Like Peter makes the web shooters. He makes the web
Mhm.
fluid. He designs most of the suit. He comes up with the moving eyes. And even if you want to say that the web pattern is too much, that Tony came up with that, the web pattern is on his gloves in his homecoming suit.
Mhm.
He came up with that too. Tony just enhances everything. He dials it up to
Mhm.
11 like he does. And I appreciate that. I'm okay with that. The trackers, I dig. I don't really care who makes those. Taser
Right.
webs, I like. It's definitely something Tony would do. 200 and whatever web combinations, bit much, bit much. Instant kill, too far. I don't like that, but it makes for
Yeah.
a funny joke in Endgame, which since Endgame, I have come around for like appreciating that moment. I think you could have saved that for the
Mhm.
Iron Spider and had that joke in Infinity War.
Well, and that's totally fair. I do see Tony building that in as a protective measure more than as like a weapon,
But
like
it's
where
but
if
it's
the suit
not
detects the
because he
threat, it
can't use
can't.
it until he unlocks it. So it's not even a protective measure.
I don't know if we got to a point where Peter was going to die in that suit in this film. I'm just saying, hypothetically, that mode probably could be toggled on once you have the training wheels off. But
Yeah.
before the training wheels were off, it also could have been set as a protective measure to kick in when it looked like when it looked like Peter was going to die.
maybe, maybe I don't know. That is for me is a bit much. A
It's a
lot of
stretch.
yeah, a lot of people hate Karen. I understand why. I do.
Mhm.
However, I did see back in the day the argument made that it's a way to give us the Spidey who always talks to himself in the comics. And that was
Mhm.
enough for me because he always talks to himself or he's thinking in his head and there's little blurbs in the comics. You can't do that the same way in a movie. So the AI gives us
Well, and
that.
frankly, I also feel like that's a Tony Stark signature, but not for style, for simple utility.
Oh,
In
yeah.
a machine that complicated, where you need things that quickly, of course he's going to give him a Jarvis
Hmm.
not infrastructure. What's the right interface?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's got to be an AI interface that communicates with you. Otherwise, there's no way you could select the right thing with the right amount of time.
Hmm.
So while it is kind of weird for Spidey to have like
Sure.
a voice in his suit, it also makes perfect sense that it would be there in this version of this suit
Yeah.
because otherwise, how would you be able to use any of those features with any kind of like
Hmm.
effectiveness?
Yeah.
It wouldn't happen.
I'm okay with it. And I'm for a couple more reasons. I like that we get the web wings. I like the refresher course training montage in the
Mhm.
lockup, which is that's very fun. Um, and I like that it doesn't last. I like and appreciate
Mhm.
a great deal that the third act, the final conflict, is him back to his basics, thus giving us the sequence
Right.
of you are more than the suit and you always were, which is illustrated
Mhm.
throughout the movie. He's using the suit brilliantly. He is never just the suit, but he doesn't get that, and he needs to learn that
He
too.
makes all the suit never tells him what choices to make.
Right,
He's constantly making those choices,
right.
right? So, of course, I mean, sure, the suit feels like the only way to be Spider-Man after he's been officially inducted as Spider-Man using the suit, right? Like otherwise it was just a kid in a sweatshirt and a mask.
Hmm.
Now he's Spider-Man because he has an Iron
Right.
Man
He's
approved
got a superhero suit. It's a real superhero
yeah,
suit.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like going back to his own thing would feel like he's doing something unofficial again, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I like you were saying, the third act being all Peter with his own little homemade
Mm-hmm.
suit and making his own choices, giving up his own like making sacrifices for himself and for the other people. Like that's it allows you to tell the story in the greater MCU with Iron Man's involvement without compromising who Peter is as Spider-Man and how Spider-Man is Peter's, which then culminates actually in the ultimate lesson of the film, which
Mm-hmm.
is that he doesn't need to be an Avenger yet. He's still
Yes.
doing what he's meant to be doing at the level he's currently
Mm-hmm.
like where he currently is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that's where the Tony is wrong bit becomes really important because, Tony saying, if you can't be Spider Man without the suit, then there's nothing really to you. That is a true idea. But he was wrong about that applying to Peter in a realistic sense. Because, like, Peter is greater than the suit,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, I like that by the time the film is done, Peter has learned a lesson that Tony has not yet
Yeah.
learned.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts Peter solidly in his own agency because he's
Mm-hmm.
turning down what Tony thinks is best for him so that Peter can do what Peter wants to do
Mm-hmm.
as Spider Man,
Yep.
which is great.
Yeah.
The film goes out of its way to prove that Peter's making his own choices.
Mm-hmm. And I dig that. Yeah. I would be more upset if he showed up and like in this version of Spider-Man, Tony made the webs, developed the web shooters, designed the blue and red, like all of that would be too much. I don't
Yeah.
mind. There's this thing that Spider-Man fans love, which is when he is just purely techless or really close to it. And I don't like that. I don't want to come across in just a second as like the no true Scotsman logical fallacy about this, but
Mm-hmm.
like there are multiple superheroes who have started at like no tech and become more and more techy as time goes on. Batman is a big one, and like it's okay it seems for these characters, but not for Spidey. And I get another part of that
Mm-hmm.
is that he has to develop his tech. I still think in this instance he develops the important parts that matter the
Mm-hmm.
most. Um,
He's still making his own web fluid,
Yeah, the web
you
fluid is the
know.
big one. We went organic, and then we went Oscorp made it, and then we like he's doing it. He's making it. That's important to me. All of that is important. Um, I also really like the drone, but part of my thing is I in getting into the relatability to Spider-Man. I was obsessed with Spider-Man suit. I wanted a Spider-Man suit so badly when I was a kid,
Hmm.
and I got this Mackenzie. This might be a little bit because of my tism, just a little tiny little itty bitty bit. It's
Well, itty bitty.
a little itty bitty. It's weird because at first glance, Spidey's suit, comic book cartoon wise, looks like the easiest one to make. It's just a shirt,
Hmm.
pants, gloves, boots, and a mask. But to make those items look like he looks when he's wearing it is almost impossible because it only looks the
Hmm.
right way when it's one piece. So,
Hmm.
I really liked this idea of it being a legitimate high-tech onesie that you could, because it's also Mythbusters did a thing where how quickly can you change between regular clothes and a super suit, and I've done this as a job putting on the super skin tight onesies of Spider-Man. It's not quick. So this idea of it being this
Hmm.
massive thing that you slide into, hit it, and it tightens, it also
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
helps with this idea that Tony had 36 hours to find Cap and spends 12 of them going to get Peter Parker Spider-Man. Did he design a perfect suit for him? No, he designed a suit that could
No.
fit anybody
Anybody.
that put it on, which is brilliant. And
Yeah.
you when you take it, see, even if you have the perfect onesie Spider-Man suit, whatever, regular fabric, whatever, you put it on, the web pattern never lines up if you have a mask. It's like the best
Hmm.
Spideys that are out there doing Comic Cons and birthdays. It's all just one piece with zippers. Don't ever throw up, you'll die. But the techie thing, with it being a program thing, it lines up on purpose. And like every little itch I had in my brain as a child watching a live action Spider-Man suit was solved by this
Yeah.
tech thing. And it did not bother me. It stresses me out when Peter has tears in his suit because of the time and the money it takes to fix it. He slides his face against concrete and hits buildings in this, and it doesn't tear because it's probably more advanced than that. And that's fine with me. I'm okay
Hmm.
with him not having to worry about that as a 15-year-old child. Like, that is
Yeah.
okay. I'm okay with that not being on his mind during this movie. And I love it. And I like that we went the opposite of elevated webs, and that when the suit tightens, it's almost indented because then it looks like the comic books when he's kind of far away, you don't see the web pattern at all because you can't draw all those little details. I ate this shit up in 2017. It was everything I wanted, and it made the Spider-Man suit the most believable. I don't get into the superhero magic of Spider-Man is so fast and so agile that he could throw off his flannel and t-shirt and slide into a perfect skin-tight onesie in an instant because he's a super. That's a Flash thing. That's a
Flash can do with that.
Flash can
It
do
was
it.
super good with
The
like
super
Superman,
people can do it.
Supergirl.
Spider-Man, it's not the same because if you're gonna do that, you're gonna tear through it because you're also super strong. I love this suit. Do I like the design? 80-20. Logo's a little small for me. The little black bits I don't care for, as I don't hate them as much as a lot of people do, but it's not my. I love that the back logo is straight up classic comic book logo, just a circle with
Hmm.
legs. And then the homecoming, like the sweatsuit, is the only live action Spider-Man suit to have a comic book logo that is straight out of the comic books. All the other ones are movie made. So I appreciate you listening to my rant. I'm sorry. It's just this
No,
suit
those.
got
I mean,
so much shit, and it's there's so much thought that went
it's
into it.
beautiful.
It's
I really like this suit. I don't really have strong preferences on style choices, like as inspired from like designs and everything. But in terms of like just pleasant to look at and
mm-hmm.
feels believable to use, ironically, this one kind of lands up there because it is created by Tony Stark. And then, like, let's go ahead and I had this thought while you were talking. I think the fact that Tony gives him this suit with all of its tech is kind of a part of the character arc, right? Where like Peter is not acting like he hasn't really learned the responsibility aspect yet. He's learned the responsibility aspect of like I have to go do something, but he
Mm-hmm.
hasn't really done the work to craft himself into the person he needs to become to make the choices that he needs to make. He's constantly making the right choices in the film, so to speak, but he's not like he's seen it as something that can be given to him rather than something that he creates for himself, like the suit,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the fact that he like maybe he's associating his, heroism or his superhero identity with something that was given to him, and then it takes that being like taken from him for him to like sort of reconnect with the fact that it's about him, not the suit, is really significant, right? And then the fact that he gets a suit back at the end might complicate that a little bit. But again, it's more about Peter knowing that, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
more about Peter. And like I think there's a fair amount of argument where he gets more control over his suit in all of the following films. We see
Mm-hmm.
him making edits to his suit
Mm-hmm.
in every following film
Yes.
because he now has ownership over it. Rather than there being training wheels, he is now making edits as he needs to his suit because he's deciding what he needs, not
Mm-hmm.
Tony. So I think it works
Yes, I agree.
really well.
Yep.
I don't think there's a leg to stand on here as a
Yeah.
complaint.
I think rightly assume that when he gets it back at the end, it's back to basics, if not gutted. Maybe I like to assume
Right.
it's gutted.
I like gutted.
Like
Mm-hmm.
there's not even the chance of getting Karen back or anything like that. Like at the very least,
I
she's
like
turned
the idea that it
off.
keeps some of the things, like maybe like the camera recording
Yeah,
things
yeah.
seems
Like
kind of useful.
we probably have some
But
trackers and we have the spider signal and the web shooters and so on probably, but and we could do the quick on and off thing.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think there's the AI anymore, which is fine. If that became the standard, I would be more annoyed by that. But I'm
Sure.
okay with all that here and now for this instance. It makes for a fun adventure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's see. There's plenty more to talk about. I think we should briefly talk. I do have some complaints, which we'll get to
We
hopefully
haven't
in time.
mentioned Ned yet.
Ned is
Ned is a
great.
treasure.
Ned is a treasure. This
This
movie,
like it's a character I hadn't heard of. I know he's got a comic book basis, but
he's
it's a character I
actually a
hadn't heard
combo
of.
of two characters in this movie,
Okay,
which some people again didn't
still,
like. But
still,
yeah,
the
he's
way
great.
that Jacob Batalon, I think it is,
Mm-hmm.
the way that he plays the character is, it's one of the things that makes the film feel the most grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ned's whole job is just to remind us that we're teenagers
Mm-hmm.
dealing with superhero stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
he nails it. He makes it so real in a way that's not annoying. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's just endlessly curious. He responds like a friend would to Peter's struggles. He makes dumb choices like
Yes, he's just a goofy
like
guy.
the line where he says, "I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think I can keep this a secret," is so
Yeah,
funny.
I like that. That's followed up with the one kind of little reference to Uncle Ben that a lot of people don't get.
Mhm.
I do. I
I
like
got it
all of
too.
that. Yeah, that's
Yeah, like I don't like that the film never mentions Uncle Ben. It's weird to me. It doesn't need to focus on Uncle Ben, but the closest we get is all that's happened to May.
yeah.
Like that's
I
it. That's
I
all we're gonna
can
say.
I can appreciate the critique of it. For some reason, it doesn't bother me. Because at this point, it's like a year after, maybe just before the anniversary, so we still get to avoid it somehow, like talking about it. But I don't know. I'll reevaluate how I feel about that at the end of this trilogy because like it not really coming up
Mhm.
ever. That's more of a problem than it not
Mhm.
coming up in this movie.
Yeah,
Um,
especially, I guess it does kind of depend how long Peter's been living with them. But if Peter's been living with them since childhood, like it normally is,
yeah.
it's really weird that he wouldn't be affected by the loss of Uncle Ben.
Hmm.
So it seems strange that it would never verbally come up. Like it feels like it's present in some of the moments of loss for Peter, but even in the moment, like the small little nod line here in the room with Ned, it seems like it's more of like a May thing than a Peter and May thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm just a little weirded out by the total absence of Uncle Ben as a primary figure for Peter. And like, hey, if we're gonna do that, that's fine, but it just feels a little weird,
It's a little
especially
weird.
if Uncle Ben was his father figure,
Yeah.
and we're just not going to acknowledge that
I
loss at all.
I'm almost getting the vibe, looking now retroactively at this trilogy, that Uncle Ben may not have been anything in this universe, which is its own critique to do that to that character. Where he was close
Hmm.
enough that he was still part of the motivation for him to become Spider-Man, but not close enough that it results in Peter kind of adhering to all of these other paternal figures as we move through this trilogy. Um, so yeah, I mean that could be evaluated and discussed to whatever end, I suppose.
Yeah, it's possible in this version of the story Uncle Ben wasn't ever like actually married to May. Maybe he was just like a significant long-term boyfriend or
Oh,
something.
maybe.
Maybe like because there's
Uh,
I don't think she ever mentions being married
well, I think
before.
her name is May Parker, and we know that
Oh, that's true. And
yeah,
Ben is
Ben is
yeah.
Phil Ben Parker. So yeah, they
Never mind.
were. That'll be
So
a
she is a widow.
critique. That's going to be a good critique, I think, for by No Way Home. Is that we don't ever
Mhm.
actually talk about Uncle Ben. The first time we get an Uncle Ben name is from Toby's Peter Parker, and it's a different Uncle
Mhm.
Ben. So yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah, it feels a little weird. Like I understand them wanting to distance it so it doesn't feel like all the other Spider-Man first movies. I understand like all of those choices, and I think it largely works for the MCU Spider-Man. I just have questions about
For
the
sure.
man who was
Very
supposed to be
fair.
so significant to our character's
Very
history.
fair. Yeah. Um, on off of that though, I do like this version of May. I know a lot of people didn't like that either, but I
Mhm.
like it. They do tone down the hotness from Civil War. Like she looks more
Mhm.
like a quote unquote aunt or mom than she does look like
Mhm.
the actress Marissa Tomei, who's all fancy and rich and famous and whatnot. I like the vibe though of having an aunt instead of a grandmother. I also like that he
Right.
just calls her May. I never called my aunts or uncles uncle or aunt whoever. It was just their first
Mhm.
name. So I like it. It feels more, again, believable and lived in than just having to dance
Mhm.
around your grandmother who gives you little pieces of wisdom every now and then.
Yeah, I've always thought it was weird that like May Parker was always portrayed as like this little old lady. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, maybe when Peter gets older,
Yeah,
but unless she's significantly older than
because that's
Peter's
the funny thing.
parents.
She's old as dirt when he becomes Spider-Man, and then she's still around when he's in his 30s and married and a teacher and
Yeah.
all that. Like she's still old as dirt. So yeah, I think this is the better approach to it. I like it. Um, we have a bunch of villains in this. Technically, I think they're all pretty
Hmm.
fun. We get two versions of
Hmm.
the Shocker. Both are accurate to the comics. We don't fully embrace it. It's also very different. He actually has electricity powers in this, which is not what Shocker does. Don't care. I don't give a shit about Shocker, so this is
It's
fine.
fine.
I
Yeah.
like that the arm bit
I like
is from the Lagos fight, and it's one of
yes.
Crossbones' arm pieces, the one that doesn't blow up. Brilliant detailing because the other one Crossbones was wearing when he blows up, but Cap ripped one off before he dies. Perfect, brilliant, wonderful, love it. So good.
Hmm.
Yeah, Tinker is
Yeah,
great,
there's so much
and then
good.
the Prowler scene is pretty fun. I like that Donald Glover's in here kicking ass. Aaron Davis inclusion
Yeah,
is wonderful. We get a reference to Miles Morales. We actually technically in a deleted scene get a full blown name drop where I think
really.
it should have been one
Miles.
of the secret endings. He's sitting on the ground with his hands still taped to or not taped, webbed to the car, and he's like, "Yeah, sorry, Miles, I'm not gonna make your birthday party," or something like that. And it's so good. That should have been one of the secret
That's
endings.
amazing.
Yes.
It was so good.
So yeah, all
Yeah,
that's
no,
great.
and having Donald Glover, like this is obvious to us, but having Donald Glover play that part
Oh
is
yes.
another
Oh,
level of detail and respect
so
for the
good.
history of the character.
So good.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm. We are slowly running out of time. I'm sorry, quickly running out of time. So there's a couple more things I want to hit on real quick. Um, yeah, villains are fun. The fight sequences are great. Vulture's mentality is great towards the shockers and all that. The Easter eggs are great. We have a sub-Ultron gun. We see an Ultron head. The thing that Peter takes out of the
And
the thing that he takes out of the
gun.
sack is the key from Sokovia that controlled the great big flying city. All the tech that they make is pretty cool. Let's see. The boat sequence is great and very fun. We talked about that. A lot of people think that the tech they were selling to Scorpion was his gear. He just never got it because it was all thrown out. I like to think that it is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I think fight sequence is great. Lots of cool Easter eggs. We reference Thor's magic belt and Hulkbuster and Cap's shield and so on and so forth. That's wonderful. Okay. I think we can get into complaints.
Nitpicks.
I have
I don't
two
know if
real
you
complaints. Was there
Yeah.
anything else we needed to get to that was like good? We love Ned. I do like MJ. We're setting it up. People complain about the love story in this. I don't care. It's a high school relationship. It doesn't have to be star-crossed
Yeah.
lovers. Liz was his first love interest in the comics. She's her first love interest in this.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. The opening Marvel crawl being the Spider-Man theme. That is the perfect way to include the theme because the other ones have been kind of cheesy. The violin thing, then the band, then the ringtone. All of those are kind of corny.
Making like a
This
folk
was
song
perfect.
is
Yes.
kind of odd.
Making this
Yeah.
dramatic and awesome. Perfect way to do that. Now, I have two real complaints. One of which has kind of died down as the years have gone on, so I'll start with that one. Every fucking villain up until now had some sort of connection to Peter Parker. That's so stupid. Then we had it for the first time ever. He's motivated outside of Spider-Man. He's not related to Spider-Man. He's doing stuff before Spider-Man. He has no connection to Spider-Man. Then he does, which is really annoying and honestly borderline dumb. However, it then results in one of the most dramatic and cool scenes of the movie where he puts it together. He realizes he recognizes the voice. He threatens his life in the car and all. Like, that is a fantastic
Yeah, that's
scene.
actually. I'm gonna jump in here
Yes.
because the scene is fantastic. I do forgive it, but I do think Toombs gets it a little fast. I think he gets it just a little fast with not enough evidence, you know. And that, like, I think it's logically possible for him to get it. I think it is a little for him to get it as quickly and as confidently as he does. That bothers me just a smidge, but because it leads automatically into this sort of like I know what you are scene and like the threat of the conversation, and then the fact that like Peter clearly has already made his choice by the time he gets out of the car, like literally on the toes of that death threat.
Yeah.
He leaves his phone in the car,
which is great. Says a lot about him.
Yeah. So I forgive it for that little bit of a movie magic moment because it's so worth it. Like, yeah, sure, maybe he's just really clever, maybe he's just overconfident. Either way, he got it right, and we get.
I don't mind the speed of it because the dialogue helps, and it's like natural dialogue where Liz is like trying to hype up her date. Like, yeah, this guy, he works for Tony Stark. He knows Spider-Man, you know, but he wasn't there at all the times that my life was being threatened. And I like that Vulture specifically says that he recognizes his voice, and he puts together what Liz says. He puts together Peter's fear and all that, and he's like, you know what? Yeah, and I love, people pointed this out, it's not just me. I love that the light turns green on his face. Classic Spidey villain green as he realizes. Oh, that's so nice. So nice!
That's so good.
Now, my bigger, more genuine complaint, and sure, there are more nitpicks we haven't got into because there's more positives than there are negatives for me in this. Biggest complaint is in this perfectly lived in, well-rounded, in the midst of connectivity MCU era. And we're connecting to the threads of Civil War. We're opening semi with Civil War. We're keeping up with the guy that recruited us into Civil War, and we know Civil War things are still happening by Infinity War because Cap is still on the run. We mentioned the Sokovia Accords in class. Yes, however, it is not made clear as to whether or not Spider-Man signed the Sokovia Accords, and I think that needs to be established. Because we find out later in Ant-Man and the Wasp that Hank Pym's technology is enough to make them fall under the Accords rules, and them just using it makes them fugitives. They are not Avengers, they are not superheroes,
Right.
and they are still at the bequest, whatever, of this legal mumbo jumbo. But this
And yet,
character, the
no one is
superhero,
coming after Spider-Man
no
in
one is
this
coming after
movie.
Spider-Man. No one has established whether or not he's on
Mhm.
the Accords. If he is on the Accords, his identity needs to be revealed. If he's not on the Accords, we need to know fucking why. He's a public known,
Mhm.
like he's a public superhero. People are talking about. He's in the news. He's in the papers. He's got fans, technically speaking. He's interacting
He
with
was
Iron Man.
involved in the Sokovia Accord conflict.
Exactly.
Like,
So
yeah.
that honestly is my biggest issue with this movie, which is no one else's biggest issue with this. People talk about the suit is too CGI, which in many times it is, but there's also very clearly a practical suit that they wear and it looks great. People talk about, the love interest or the villain connection or that his motivation doesn't change and so on and so forth and whatever, and that we don't need Iron Man. He's Iron Boy Jr. I don't engage with any of that. I don't think it's accurate or true. My biggest issue is the Civil War connection and whether or not he's on the Accords. Because I think that matters. Because we fully gloss over it.
Mhm.
I love that we get nods and connections to the Sokovia Accords in She-Hulk, where we find out that they are repealed,
Mhm.
because that is an excellent question with these superheroes and the legal mumbo jumbo. Not getting it here. Why the heck not?
Yeah, I think especially finding out that they've been repealed later, you can kind of like patchwork in. You can kind of like patch that maybe the Sokovia Accords are currently technically law, but no one really knows what to do with them because of the conflict, and so they're like not really enforcing them on a street level, maybe. Um,
But they also are when it
but it
comes
still
to
feels
Ant-Man.
like,
That's the thing.
yeah,
Like,
well, there's an argument to be made that people are greedy and they want the PIM technology, whereas Spider-Man doesn't really have anything that anybody wants. Um,
I
but
guess.
yeah, I don't know. It is a flaw, I think, a narrative flaw that we don't even really mention how Peter Parker slash Spider-Man fits in with the current law of the land, which would be the Sokovia Accords.
Mm-hmm.
They're mentioned several times. We get clips of the movie, The Civil War, but we never actually talk about how Peter fits in with them. Maybe
Yeah.
because he's a minor, but again, you have to like
But you'd
find
have to
reasons to
establish
exclude.
that. That's the thing. You have to have,
Mhm.
Tony and Widow arguing, or Tony and T'Challa arguing as to why it's a good thing, why it's a bad thing, why it works, why it doesn't. Like, oh, he can't sign. He's a minor. It's like, that's extra reason why he shouldn't be here. And also, even if you want to argue it is because he's a minor, FBI Jimmy Woo doesn't know that, and
Mhm.
he's invested in keeping the Hanks and the Pims in line. The damage control dude becomes like a villain for Peter Parker to deal with in the next movie, only because Mysterio says that Spider-Man kills him, and now we're after him for murder. Are we not after him for violating the UN?
This
Like,
complete
what are we
crap.
doing here?
Yeah.
That's my big takeaway. Otherwise, this movie is so much fun. It's so cool.
Mhm.
It is so Spider-Man. The secret endings kind of suck. The last one is, well, the last one is
I
technically
laughed.
genius, but it's really annoying.
Mhm.
Um, the uh, the Scorpion one has taken 10 years to do anything with.
Yeah. Well, and I also feel like that has more to do with wrapping up a loose end from this film than it does foreshadowing the next. Just because now that he knows who Peter is, him going to jail with a bunch of like Spider-Man's biggest enemies would be a problem. Like I thought about that. Like as he was getting arrested, I was like, he's gonna go ahead and just spill that secret. What are we gonna do
Mm-hmm.
about that? And so like having that scene there actually like in the theater, I was like, oh well, that's good. He's following a code. He's gonna protect the kid. That's nice. Um, but you're right that it has taken quite a bit of
Yeah.
time to
There's
get any
also
like
there's we're only gonna get
Scorpion.
half of a payoff, because if we follow the rules, which I almost hope we retcon, Vulture isn't here anymore. He's in Morbius's universe. Just so
Mm,
stupid. So stupid.
ew. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's dumb.
You didn't watch Morbius?
No.
Oh, well, that was the secret ending
Okay.
for Morbius, is that somehow Vulture ends up in his universe because of the events of No Way Home. Does it make sense? No. Does his interaction with
Were
Morbius
they
make
gonna
any
try
sense?
and
No. We'll talk about it later. But
my only guess is that they wanted to try and steal how awesome a villain he had become and use him in his own universe. Whatever. Maybe not.
yeah,
Um
we are
yeah, so I
technically
think
at our time. You
I don't
finish
really
what you
have
got.
anything Yeah, I don't think I have any critiques beyond what you said, other than maybe like there are a couple times where Peter leaves somebody hanging in a way that he doesn't really have to and seems maybe a touch out of character. Like he has his phone with him when he leaves the party and he sees an explosion and he makes the choice to look back at Ned and then go for the explosion. A quick text, be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I gotta go." Have
Yeah.
fun at the party. Something that indicates that he's not coming back, or at least he's going to be gone for a minute, just so that Ned's not like out to
Left
dry.
hanging. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems kind of out of character for Peter. Maybe he just wasn't thinking straight. I don't know. But
I
it's just
think
I
it's
think it's kind of like it's in your face when the thing
yeah.
that gives him away is his phone like
That's fair.
ringtone.
I think the
Yeah.
thoughtfulness of the teenager we can watch develop as well. Yeah, a little bit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think a
Hmm.
lot of people also critiqued that Spider-Man. It's out of character that Spider-Man would ever go to a party and show off, and it's not responsible. It's not Spider-Man. He's a child, and this is so in
Yeah.
character for a child. I fantasized
And he
so many
also
times.
protests
Yeah,
it.
eventually he doesn't
Like
do
he's
it in the end.
100% about
Yeah,
it.
I
Hmm.
think it works because I thought so many times if I was a superhero, I'd show up and I'd say something cool about the real me or whatever, and then like you grow up and you're like, that is so dumb, but you thought about it when
Yeah.
you were a kid. I love that they include it. I think it works. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Peter Parker, who is just perfectly good all the time, isn't interesting. Peter Parker, as a sophomore in high school, who is new to being a superhero, developing what that means for him,
Mm-hmm.
and having excellent instincts that he doesn't always follow through on, or maybe doesn't follow through in quite the right way. That's what we're looking at here in this film, and it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they managed to make, and it's not an origin story per se, but it's sort of like almost like a creation story. We're getting the sense of like an identity creation story. We're getting the sense of who we are, what we want to do, what it means to be this kind of hero in this kind of world, what kind of, responsibilities and self-sacrifice we're willing to make for this job. I think it works really well. I
Mm-hmm.
got problems with the choices they made in
I
this
agree.
film.
I agree. It's great fun. Super cool. I enjoy it all.
Definitely a whale.
Yeah, oh,
Tis a
tis a
whale.
whale. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there was one little this is the last thing. I predicted something from this movie
Mm.
that I was
Hmm.
half right on. I caught, not that it's like subtle or anything, but it's kind of in the background. The mascot for their school is the Tigers, and I thought in the third movie we'll meet Mary Jane Watson, like the Mary Jane Watson,
You will say, "Hey, Tiger."
or well, yeah, and during a football game or something, she'll say "Go get 'em, Tiger" as a reference to his mascot.
Mhm.
And in No Way Home, we have Betty Brant say that. So I was like half right, but the context and the character is different. But that's how we get that fun little thing. Um,
Yeah.
so it's not as fun as I was. I also we didn't really talk about this. I don't hate this version of MJ. I know it's weird. I know a lot of people don't like
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I don't mind it at all. Um, I
It's not what I expected. Again, probably not a choice I would have made, but it works
the
really well for what they're doing.
I was mostly indifferent because I like Gwen more, and he has so many love interests. He's so young right now; it doesn't really matter. But when I saw the argument
Right.
that MJ is supposed to represent the contrarian, and when she was made a sex
Self-confident.
positive, going out of her way, flamboyantly confident, whatever individual, that was the contrarian then. That is no longer the contrarian now. And so she's this
Mhm.
different. I kind of dig that because I often enjoy the comic book essence more than the accuracy if it is done in the same spirit. So I don't hate it.
Well, we're getting character growth out of MJ in this version versus like having an MJ arrive fully confident, right? Like this
Mm-hmm.
MJ, you can even see it in the background of this film. She gains confidence
Yeah,
over the course of, we'll say, the
and she
year,
clearly likes
right?
him already,
Yes, she's like low key stalking him a little bit. It's just she happens to notice every time he leaves the room.
all the
That's
time,
all.
always
And
looking, always there.
yeah. And she like develops like a friendship with most of his group. Like she and Ned are not close at the beginning of the film, but it's fair to say that they share a friend group by the end of the film. And it's like we're seeing this MJ develop her confidence And while she was always pretty self-assured in terms of like, she hangs out in detention because she thinks it's fun, and
Weirdo.
that's something that
Mm-hmm.
takes a little bit of self-confidence to do. So she has always had that, but I think in terms of like just the outward social confidence, we watch it develop in this character, and because we're also watching Peter Parker develop, we get this really sweet like school sweethearts thing that works really well. Plus, it also had the real life effect of getting Tom Holland and Zendaya together, and they're
Indeed.
adorable. So I don't know if we could
Indeed.
regret this.
Nah. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. I
Yeah.
had like one other little thing that I was gonna say, but like we're past our time and it's just more good stuff, so whatever. I
Hmm.
am excited for next week. Next week is another one that got
Is
shat
it
on quite
fair
a
to
bit, but
say?
hmm?
Is it fair to say that this is the best one we've seen so far out of all the Spider-Man?
I don't know because this one in a vacuum would
True.
struggle more. This is definitely propped up by the success of the continued arc that we
MCU.
get.
Hmm.
So again, as I understand your issues with the first Toby, Spider-Man 2, and then all my issues with Amazing Spider-Man 2, those movies are doing this trilogy in many ways within a movie because that's kind of all they could do in some ways. This movie has not only rough drafts to go off of, the
Hmm.
existence of the MCU to latch on to or grow from, if you want to be less, negative. And then it has bigger budget. like,
Yeah.
so I think you could make the argument that this is the best one, but I also think you could strongly argue it isn't because of the help it gets, and I think that does need to be considered. Um, I
You make
think,
a great point about it relying
yeah,
greatly on the connected stories of the MCU. I just
I,
don't know that any other one's quality
I
comes
right
close enough.
now, yeah, I would argue I don't know who's in first place right now, but it's as much as I hate this, it's Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man, and this are in the running for thus far the best
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie. All of them do
Mhm.
a lot with either a little or they take advantage of the lot they have. Um, I like Spider-Man 1 quite a bit, but like Spider-Man 1 is a really really good superhero origin story in a time when that hadn't really been solidified yet. Yeah, I know you don't like it. Okay. That's why I'm saying Spider-Man
I
2 The
can't
Amazing
agree.
Spider-Man
I
1.
just can't agree.
Yeah, okay.
With so much of a, especially from the time period, so much of a hero's identity is his relationship to his significant other,
For
his
sure.
damsel in distress,
For
and
sure.
that's what they give us. I'm gonna have a problem with
Okay,
it.
okay. But
Anyway,
just like I said, Spider-Man 2, The Amazing
I,
Spider-Man 1, and this right now are contenders for
I'd
best
agree that
Spider-Man
those
movie.
are
Yeah.
in the running. Yeah.
But that is us. We're past our time. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.